36 of the Circle Back podcast, the show where two great friends get together to talk about video games. I'm Dan LaMarca. As always, I'm joined by...
I'm Dan Dufrenoy. How are you?
Dan Dufrenoy. Dan Dufrenoy over here.
Daniel Dufrenoy. Dufrenoy. Excuse me.
Oh, is that how it's pronounced?
That's how it's pronounced,
Right.
yeah.
Well, Dan Dufrenoy, what have you been playing?
Like usual, still playing Ni no Kuni 2. Absolutely loving it.
Like usual.
Like usual, I love it. I don't know what else.
How far along are you getting?
I'm not sure how many hours. We just got to the point where we're doing the kingdom building.
Okay.
And to be honest, me and my sister have just like it was so weird. We were doing story. So I'm very much like story guy. I do like side quests, but I'm just like, I want to see what happens to the story. I want to progress. But then we got to this castle building, empire building, and we've just kind of become obsessed with that. Just trying to recruit people to we need a bread maker, or we need this person or this person. And
it's pretty neat though, right?
But what I like about it is it's super simple.
Yeah.
But I think that's what makes it so great.
Right.
It's so easy to get into, and we legit just got lost. I remember. So my parents had friends over, and me and my sister, we said hello and stuff like that. But we didn't really want to hang out, so we just went downstairs and played for 5 hours straight. And I think 3 of those hours was just us, castle building and just roaming the world, trying to level up, trying to get money, trying to do this, trying to get that. And it was just a lot of fun. So
cool.
I'm loving it. I think story wise, we just did the corrupt town where the guy with the dice.
Okay.
We just took care of that.
All right. You're rolling along.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Still got some ways to go.
Yes.
Probably.
quite a ways.
I know those JRPGs.
Yeah.
But
Have
you beaten that game?
Speaking of
sorry.
JRPGs, no, we can talk. I have not beaten Ni no Kuni
Okay.
2. I am close to the end, and I put it down for God of War, and I
Gotcha.
still have to beat it.
Gotcha. Okay.
I don't know if I'll go back to it or not. I really
You
enjoyed.
like it that much?
No, I really enjoyed it a lot, but
Did you beat the first Ni no Kuni?
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we'll see. There's a lot of games to play. I don't know if I'm gonna go back to it.
So
or
many
not.
games, so little time.
Exactly. But speaking of JRPGs, I've been playing a little more Octopath Traveler. You've done a couple. How many characters do you have in your party?
Only have 3.
You have 3?
Alphen, Cyrus, and Primrose.
Okay. Cool. What do you think of them so far?
I don't want to seem like this pretentious JRPG lover or anything. I don't know. I don't want to come off I don't want to come off like I don't love it, because I do. I really
start.
I really love it. I think first off, I love the battle system, like you said with Persona. I love
Yes.
The coolest thing is it has nothing to do with it's just you gotta outsmart your enemies, and I love that the battle system's great. Gosh, the art style and the music is absolutely beautiful. And it's a perfect throwback nostalgia to the JRPGs that I love from the 90s, and I think it's perfectly well done.
Mm-hmm.
Some things are hit and miss for me. We've talked. I think we talked about this last episode, or at least we were just talking about it. Some of the stories are just kind of it's just very tropey.
No doubt about it.
But at the end of the day, I think it's just a very, very solid game, and I'm just really, really enjoying it. It's a niceness. It's if you give me if someone was gonna make a 2D side scroller with Super Nintendo graphics and they were here, play it. I'm just gonna love it because I love those games. So it's the same sort of thing.
Yeah.
So I love it for those reasons, and because the gameplay is really good. But
cool.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying it as well. Kind of slowing down on it just because I'm not. JRPGs are very long, and if the story is not there to engage me, then it can be tough to stick with. I have 7 out of the 8 characters so far, and I'm kind of doing all their intros, going through, and I don't know. I'm feeling a little burnt out on it, but I'm not giving up on it. I'm gonna stick with it. I just at least want to see somebody's second part of their quest,
right,
and then see how that works, and
Okay.
then take it from there.
So right now you're just in the beginning stages, right now, just
Right, yeah. I've been going town to town, getting the
Finding
different
everybody.
characters. Yeah, I have 7 of them now. So I'll grab the 8th. I'll do a second part of a main quest,
Cool.
and see where it goes from there.
All right.
For sure. But enjoying it, but it is a lot. I'm not in love with it, hooked with it. You know what I mean? It's a good game, but I'm not that in love with it. We'll see. Maybe it'll change as I get a little bit further in. That's why I want to give it its due diligence.
Right.
You know? But yeah, that's where I'm at with Octopath.
I feel that.
I also played a lot of Dota 2 these past weeks.
Good for you.
The last few months I've fallen back into down the rabbit hole big time with Dota.
Is that like would that be one of your favorite games of all time?
Yeah, it's complicated because it's hard to have it's such a good, well-made competitive game, but anybody that likes this game at all has such mixed feelings on it because it's so punishing and so brutal, and the community's so toxic. It's like, can I really say it's one of my favorite games of all time? But the actual game that they made for a competitive game, it's like one of the most well-crafted, like amazing games ever. But it's it's a love-hate relationship with Dota. You have a bad game, you just wasted 45 minutes of your life on nothing. You know what I mean? It's brutal. Absolutely brutal. But won't harp too much on that. I know I've talked about Dota in the past. Thing I want to talk about big time for this week is No Man's Sky Next.
All right. I'm interested to hear this, Danielson.
Yeah, so we'll start out by talking about No Man's Sky initially. So came out 2016. Mm-hmm. Maybe one of the most hyped games of all time.
Yeah, seriously. It was one of the reasons why I wanted to get the PlayStation 4.
Right. So a lot of people were in the same boat because it debuted at the Game Awards in like 2013, I think. Mm-hmm. And it was just this like beautiful sci-fi, like really cool, like, 2001 Space Odyssey vibes. Right. Like, all the fucking nerds are loving it, obviously. But as it went on, and we started to, people were talking to Sean Murray, this is Hello Games makes this game.
But he was on, like, everything. He was on, like, Stephen Colbert and The Tonight Show and this and that.
This is why I'm saying it was so hyped, because everybody was talking about this game and saying that it's going to be, it was basically, everyone's putting it on its pedestal and saying, this is the game.
This is the
only game you're ever going to need. It's so much in it and blah, blah, blah. And it was such a detriment to that game, because when it came out, people realized, oh, it's like a procedurally generated, like, Minecraft-y, like, breakdown stuff for your minerals ship. And, put different stuff on your ship, stuff like that. So when the game first came out, I actually liked it a lot.
Okay.
But I didn't stick with it because there wasn't that much around it. I went into it and, all my friends, everybody I know, was like, man, this game sucks, it's boring, there's nothing to do, blah, blah, blah. And for me, I was like, it's just so cool to just go to different planets, discover. And from day one, this game was one of the best tone and music and graphics. Like,
it's beautiful
everything
game.
About this game, like
technically,
all the trappings around it, like the way it looks when you're in hyperspace with like everything flying by, like when you fly off a planet and you're in space and you can fly right into another planet. Like, there's so much about that game that was so amazing and so cool that I was like, I like this game for what it is. But I got bored with it because even the things that were interesting in it, like learning the different languages on these little, you would find these stones and it would like tell you a little story, and then it would say you learned the word for, interloper. And it's like, and you'd be slowly building out like a language almost, but it felt, so really neat idea, number one, but it felt a little hokey.
Okay.
Because you would like have a conversation with that alien race, and it would show gibberish, and then it would say interloper, gibberish, gibberish. And it's like, did this man really just say interloper? Why is everyone I'm talking to saying interloper? It's like, all right, guys. Like, I get what you're doing. I get it's very hard to make an entire fucking dictionary out of this made-up language, but it did feel a little silly sometimes. But yeah, there wasn't much to it besides the discovery.
Yeah, that was.
But there was some really cool intrigue in this game. That's why I'm saying, if there was more, I always said since day one, I was like, if there was actual, like, things that I wanted to do that were engaging, I would absolutely adore this game. Because do you remember? Did you ever get any of like the Atlas passes or anything to go see. You like met these two creatures
in the space station,
yeah.
right? Okay.
But there were these two guys that were like looking at this big globe, and they're so weird, and it was so interesting to be like, wow, I've never seen. And they're like speaking like language you can understand, and you're like, you know, it was just amazing, and it had that intrigue, that mystery.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing, but it didn't have anything that made you want to get it. You know what I mean? Like the moment to moment gameplay was not engaging at all.
No.
For me, where I'm just, you know, holding my laser on this thing, it's turning into minerals, getting them, doing different stuff to my ship. All right, I need to get more like hyper whatever, so I can go to a different system and stuff. And it's like, it just never did it for me. And what No Man's Sky Next is doing is, at the very least, a better, more well-crafted version of that.
So
first game.
So explain what the
now here's the main problem, and I'm going to say it from the get-go. There was an update called Atlas Rising about a year ago.
Okay.
I hadn't played that, so some of this stuff may be from Atlas Rising, some of it may be just from the new stuff. So number one thing, very noticeable from the beginning, it's third person, not first person.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they pull the camera back. You have a character model. The reason that's important is because you can totally customize that character.
Okay.
And you can change their race, species, you know, like anything. My guy's head is a glowing orb with some things like floating around.
Ah, you're like, Mysterio, is that?
But I'm not like a human or any sort of species that's animal-like at all. But that, number one, really does actually a lot for it. Because not only does it give you a, you know, first person, exploring in first person can be very cool in like, wow, it's amazing to see, like, you know, whatever. But to see the scale of you versus some of these creatures or some of these like weird structures and stuff, your person and, you know, your character in third person, it's pretty neat to see. 'Cause you're like, holy shit, that guy's so huge, I wouldn't have even thought of it. So that's number one, biggest difference. Number two is, right off the bat, you have a guided story. Where it's like, so right away it says, get your ship, you know, just like the old game. Here's a crashed ship here, fix it up, get off this planet. But when you start the process of fixing it up, you realize that someone left a message for somebody to find. Okay. It's like, hey, come to this planet. You know, there's more stuff to be found. You go to that other planet. You know, I went to the other planet, and it's like, you know, go here and dig deep or something like that. So, like, you're kind of doing this, like, treasure hunt right now, it seems like. Third thing is there's base building.
Okay.
Like, serious, actual base building. Where you can actually, like, build structures and like full house, like very Minecraft-like. Okay. Where you're building houses and structures. You can build farms. Like you can like set up like a self-sustaining thing. You can, you know how you could like feed the animals and they would like, you know, follow you around or whatever. You can do that, and you can try to like, you know, fence them in. These are your little pets, whatever. So, you know, very, very much like Minecraft, honestly. Those are the big things. The other things on the sides that are different are when you go to a space station, there's about 30 different NPCs. And there are guys that are offering missions.
See, that's okay.
There are guys that are trying to sell you different weapons. There are like all these vendors. It's like this really, it actually feels like alive, the space station, in a way that it didn't.
Because in the original game, I feel like you go to a space station, maybe there was like one guy.
There's like one guy sitting there, and
that's like it.
So this, a lot more to it. Actual NPCs, like, you know, different dialogue choices with them and stuff like that that seem really cool. I still don't know if this is different enough to pull somebody in, because it added a lot on the outskirts to make it more interesting in the moment to moment. but I don't know if the overall package is still interesting enough. I'm gonna play more, and I have to play more in order to find that out because I'm still very early. I played it only a couple hours, but I like what I'm seeing. I'm not sure that this is the big sea change that it really needed.
I'm so curious. So this is, you already, like, if you have the game already, you have, because
it's just an update, free update.
Okay, because I already have No Man's Sky. So if I go in, it'll just start.
Totally free update. You have to update, obviously.
Right.
But you'll update, start up, and it'll say, how do you want to play? Like, normal. There's like a creative mode where, because the big thing that I didn't mention because I haven't experienced it yet is that it's actually online and you can play with your friends.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Not only can you play with your friends, random people, you can come across them in the universe. So you can come across a random person and, hey, they may decide to just blow up your ship. So there's a creative mode that keeps you from having any of that. There's no like health meter, toxic meter, like anything like that. Totally bypasses all that, and you can just have fun, create stuff, go planet to planet, like whatever. There's also like a hardcore mode where it's like if you die, you're done. You have to restart a new character, So they definitely had some stuff. I'm curious. Maybe me and you will try to jump in a little bit and see what the multiplayer's like.
I'm down.
But
you got my digits.
That's right. But I like what they're doing. I haven't seen enough. One thing I will say is the creation tools. So their creation tools are randomly generated animals and random species and plants and stuff seem a lot more varied. Okay, which is cool. I came across something that I was like, "What? I'd never seen anything like that before." Like that stuff. The original game had, but I feel like they just kind of stepped it up for this. Right.
I just feel like the reason why I kind of dwindled off was I just felt like I didn't feel like any purpose to play other than like, oh, this looks cool, or like this is like a beautiful planet, and so if it had that sort of purpose, because like I'll put it this way, I enjoyed Minecraft. I've played with friends a few times. Like it was kind of relaxing. Just okay, let's build a house, let's build something. Let's try to make this from this movie and make it look like this. Like that's cool, but like I don't know, for me at least. It's like the video games I enjoy. Like if there's no like purpose to like do this stuff, I just kind of get like lost. And it's no offense to people that enjoy it or the game itself. It's just for me, my personal tastes. I just
couldn't agree more. And that's why I'm saying I don't know if this has that. It might. Yeah. I haven't played enough to say for sure. It's still like
expanding too, right? It's still. I don't think this is gonna be it.
Of course not, but. This is their big, hey, here's our relaunch. Okay. Like, this is their big thing,
Because I remember when they were when his name Sean Murray? Mm-hmm. I remember because everybody was, like, hyping it up, and I just remember him being like, no, like, it's going to be a game that's going to progress, like, through time. Like, we're going to keep adding, like, stuff like that. So, like, I'm just curious.
I'm sure that they're not done with this game, but it's something I also didn't mention because I didn't experience it. I just know about it from reading about it, is that there's a, like, you get a frigate, like a large ship you can send out on missions. Okay. And then it'll do kind of like a randomly generated what happened on that planet when they got sent out. Okay. Good thing, bad thing, and then you can decide what to do based on that. So, that's what I'm saying. There's more stuff, more things to do. Mm-hmm. I don't know if any of it is engaging enough to make this the game that we want it to be. But it's certainly a better game and a more engaging game. It's just a matter of how much does it have. Gotcha. And is it enough to get its hooks in me, So we'll see with that. I'll check in next week. My goal is to play at least a couple more hours of that.
All right, man. Yeah. You let me know. Yeah. Back at Circle Back Gaming with your friend Dan Dufrenoy.
All right. That's all we've been playing for the week. I want to jump into... I've heard you've been playing a lot of Metal Gear Solid 3.
I know, and I was so hoping that I could beat it. I know I'm so close to beating it.
I think you are pretty close.
I'm like way close to beating it, and I just haven't yet.
All right, so this is Metal Gear Corner with Dan. Tell me about Metal Gear Solid 3.
Notes. Okay, So I actually got a lot done. I'm very happy to say a lot of plot points. So, how did we end last time? I forget.
It's been a while.
I just remember we got a key. So this is where at least
climbed the ladder.
Right, we did the ladder. Right, we did climb the infamous ladder where they play the Snake Eater theme, and yes, you go to the base. Right, it's like you climb the mountain. That's what happened. You got a key from Eva to go underground and enter Groznygrad. Mm-hmm. That's pretty much it. I remember. And then my favorite part about video games ever, backtracking.
That is your favorite.
I love backtracking so much. I realized that's actually my least favorite thing in video games.
I've heard that, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so you got to backtrack. So this is exciting. I fought the Fury. So you backtrack, and you go under this, like, you got the key from Eva. You go, like, into the mountain. You go under one of, like, the cellars. And there's a little bit of foreshadowing because every enemy there has, like, these, like, flamethrowers. So you go underground, and then there's this guy called the Fury. And he's, like, in this big, like, black suit. And he's got a jetpack, and he's got a flamethrower. And it was a really, really interesting boss battle. He's kind of flying up ahead of you, and, like, he'll go on the ground, and he'll just, like, set everything on fire. So you got to, like, shoot him. But then as soon as you shoot him, he turns and he gets you on fire. And then you got to heal yourself, and just like that. It was interesting. It was fun. It was good. So anyway, so you fight the Fury, you reach the base of Groznygrad, and you have to find this general named Rykov, and you have to steal his clothes and disguise yourself as him in order to get past the guards. And this is one of my favorite, most ridiculous things in the entire game, is that you find him, right? You take off all his clothes, but you get like a freaking mask of him, or so, like somehow you get a mask like him. So it's kind of, so you put on his clothes, and then you have like a mask of him. You put it on. You get past, and you look just like him, but you find out that the Shagohod, which is the big Metal Gear-like device, the first Metal Gear, is ready to launch. Mm-hmm. So like every Metal Gear game, that's like a big time's running down, you gotta stop it. Anyway, so you run into Sokolov. You actually find him, and he tells us how we can blow up the facility. We have to find C3. But the C3 was stolen by Eva, whose real name is Titania, and he gives you this whole backstory, how you think Eva's Sokolov's lover, but she's actually Volgan's lover, not Sokolov, but like he's telling you to watch out because Eva's going to betray you, but then Eva's like, no, like I'm with you, and it's just like this, again, very, very like this convoluted, like who do you trust, who do you believe, but all that's really important right now is you know that the Shagohod is ready to launch, and you need to stop it. But you found Sokolov, which was also your mission.
Huge main part of the mission is finding Sokolov.
Right, you found Sokolov. So, anyway, Sokolov gives you some of his backstory. He's very much like Otacon. What I'm trying to realize is like a lot of the characters and like the plot points. It's just I feel like it's a big rehashing of like the first like game. So like Sokolov's very much like Otacon, and the fact that he's being he got into the business because he wanted to help people. Mm-hmm. He wanted to protect his country. But it ends up, he was just being used to make weapons of mass destruction.
Right.
So anyway, you're talking to Sokolov. You think everything's fine, and Volgan walks in. But then at this point, you're still dressed up as Rykov. I forget his name. He looks like Raiden. Rykov. You're still dressed up like him. And I don't know why this happened. This happened in the second game. Volgan shows up and like he grabs like his balls, and he's just like, "You're not Rykov." It's like I don't.
God, so good.
I don't get it. So he rips off the mask and he sees that it's Snake. Him and Snake fight a little bit. This is all in cutscene, by the way. You're not actually fighting Volgan. You start fighting each other, and the boss shows up, and she seems to be on the side of Volgan. So like she like knocks Snake out of the way. She protects Volgan, and it like screen like goes black, right? And once the screen goes black, all you hear is like Sokolov, the guy that you've been tasked to go find. Mm-hmm. He's screaming and he's being electrocuted, obviously by Volgan, and he dies. So Sokolov is dead. He's killed by Volgan. Mm-hmm. You're like, what the hell's going on? So Sokolov is dead. So that part of the mission has been failed. So very, very sad. Rest in peace, Sokolov. Anyway, next scene is Snake is tied up, and Volgan starts to torture Snake. He starts to electrocute him.
Seems familiar.
Beat him up. Yeah, it's just like Metal Gear Solid 1. And I found out why Snake, Big Boss at least, has his eye patch. So what happens is Snake's being tortured by Volgin, and the boss is watching. The boss obviously cares for Snake and is very, very distraught by this. Volgin says, hey, to test your loyalty, why don't you take out Snake's eye to prove to me that you're still loyal to me? Eva's there, Ocelot's there, and anyway, the boss can't do it because Eva intervenes, and then Ocelot's like, all right, fine, like, are you a spy talking to Eva? I'm sorry, I know it's getting convoluted, there's just a lot going on. So Ocelot's talking to Eva and says, all right, I think you're a spy, and he's about to go shoot Eva, but Snake's able to move himself and catches the bullet that Ocelot had for Eva in his eye. So that's why Big Boss has an eye patch, because he was protecting Eva and got shot in the eye to protect her. Very noble man. We like you, Snake. Anyway, at this point, Snake learns of this group called the Philosophers, right? And they're made up of the most powerful men in the United States, the Soviet Union, and China. They were a secret organization who controlled the world behind the scenes. Again, reminds me just like the Sons of Liberty, same sort of thing. And Volgin thinks Snake is after the Philosopher's Legacy, which is a fund the organization had jointly amassed to finance their wars of roughly $100 billion. And it's divided up and hidden all around the banks all over the world. Volgin illegally inherited the money, and Snake learns that the U.S. is attempting to retrieve that money. Does everybody get that? You good?
Yeah,
okay.
It's clear.
All right, cool. All right, there's a lot going on. I
clear.
apologize. Anyway, Volgin leaves, Ocelot leaves, and it's just Snake and Eva. Eva's very, very appreciative of what Snake did, and she tells him that there's an escape route, but that you need to get out of the prison cell first. So she hands him a gun, and at this point, one of the coolest things, as Eva's talking to you, like the way it sounds, the first person, Eva's talking to you, and in the background, like this ghost-like guy, like shows up, and he's got like a cardboard, like piece of cardboard with like a number scribbled on it. It's like 144.72 or whatever. I'm like, weird. So Eva says, all right, you need to get out of this prison cell, but I have an escape route signed for you. Okay, awesome. Thanks, Eva. She leaves. You wake up in your cell. So you don't know how to get out of your cell. So what I did was, what the ghost showed me, that number, I plugged that number in. It opened the cell. But when I looked up like afterwards, apparently there's other ways to get out of the cell too. Like you can go into the start menu and spin Snake around, and he'll get so dizzy he'll throw up, and then a guard has to come and like clean it up. And then like it reminds me of the first game where you can like splat the ketchup packet. Yeah. So like I'm so curious how people think of, like to do that.
Yeah, you mess with it enough, you have nothing else to do. You're trying to figure it out.
That's so funny. I love that. That's why I like these games. Anyway, so the cell was unlocked. Now this is what's so crazy. So by that point, I left the game. I had to go do something else. I turned the game off. I saved, turned the game off. When I came back in, the weirdest thing happened. It became like this like Devil May Cry like sort of game where like I turned the game back on. It's black and white. You play as this guy, doesn't even look like Snake, with like black hair and like swords on his arms, and there's like zombies that you gotta fight. Did this ever happen to you?
Maybe not.
This is so weird. It was like the weirdest thing. And like there's like.
So what happened? You got through it?
There's like graffiti on the wall saying like "I love you, Mom." Like weird stuff. Like I was like, what the heck happened? And he just wakes up, and then he's back in the cell. Did that happen to you?
Yeah.
Is that just that part in the game?
Yeah.
That's so weird. I love it. Anyway, so Snake awakens, you break out of the prison cell, and you have to head to the sewers. As you're in the sewers, you get chased out by Ocelot and his men, and they're all standing there at the waterfall. Ocelot's ready to fight you, and you jump off the waterfall, all dramatic-like, and you run away. Head upstream. But apparently this was all like some like weird dream, because you run into this ghost-like guy called the Sorrow. And I think, Dan, this is one of my favorite boss fights ever.
It's pretty good.
It's this ghost-like guy, the guy that was holding the piece of cardboard to you. This guy named the Sorrow, and he was part of one of Volgin's men, and apparently he was killed 2 years ago by the boss. And you find out that she did it like on purpose, because he he knew what the boss's mission was, and unfortunately, because I've been alive for a lot, I know what happens in the rest of the game. So like, well, I guess the Sorrow wasn't such of a bad guy. I don't know, but anyway, such a cool boss fight because you're heading up this stream, and there he is. He's like floating, all like really creepy. Like actually, he's got like blood coming from his eyes, and every enemy that you've killed in the game comes at you. Mm-hmm. So like I've done a very good job just like tranquilizing people. The only people I've killed is the bosses. So I've only had the ghosts of the bosses come at me, like the Fury and the Fear come at me, and very very few regular enemies. But apparently, if you just like
it could be loaded.
Like if you just killed everybody in your path through the entire game, all those enemies would come after you.
Yeah.
And like it was the coolest thing. What I really really appreciate about this boss fight is it's just like Kojima like really turning video games like on its head and being like, you know, because he's very much like anti-violence.
You gotta think about who you're killing.
Right, exactly. And he's like, it's very much the whole boss fight is just kind of like going back on, you know, oh like man, I killed all these people. And then like very much self-reflective. And in the meantime, the Sorrow's just like doing these weird like twitchy things and like out of nowhere like the screen will like show a skeleton or something like that. Really really cool. You eventually get to the Sorrow's dead body, and once you touch it, you die. But the screen's like different, and you can still go into your screen, and you take the revive pill, and you come back to life, and that's how you beat him. Like, it wasn't really much of a fight, but like it was one of the most interesting. Cool, yeah. Like that, in the end, I think, are some of my favorite of the Metal Gear Solid boss fights because like it's just a very very interesting premise. Anyway, fight the Sorrow, my favorite boss fight in this game for sure. Head upstream to find Eva in her underwear again. Eye roll. I put the eye roll emoji. Yeah, you find her. She's like, you go upstream and you go behind a waterfall where she is, and she's just there. She is. She's like, oh, I'm wet because of the waterfall. She takes off her clothes and she tries to seduce Snake, and Snake's not interested, but she does get the transmitter out of Snake, and oh my, I just can't because it's just so weird because they try to show it like her taking it out, but they only show like the shadow view, so it looks like they're doing some very suggestive things and they're making suggestive noises. Kojima's just like so horny. I don't get it. It's just like anyway.
People be horny, man.
It's just so weird. And my mom's upstairs, but I'm just like, Mom, it's not what you think. I don't know. It's just really bad. Anyway, she likes Snake, and she's gonna plan an escape route for when he blows up the Shagohod. So that's my next mission, destroy the Shagohod. I'm in the area to destroy the Shagohod with the C3.
So now, are you trusting Eva?
I don't know. I just want to put some clothes on. God, just put some clothes on, woman. I don't know. I love the Metal Gear Solid games, but there are just some moments where I'm just like, oh my God.
So is that where you left off?
That's where I left off, yeah. And then I had to go do some errands. But
yeah, well, of course, there are moments like that in all these games. But you're liking it overall?
I am. I gotta say there was a lull for me. Like the beginning, one of the best setups ever in games. You gotta go kill the person that you know, the only person that matters to you. And then there's kind of a bit of a lull where it's just kind of like, okay, I'm just going through the woods. Here's somebody. Going through the woods. Here's somebody. But now that it's getting to the end, it's getting very very juicy. And I'm telling you, man, the end boss fight and the Sorrow boss fight.
Really, really good.
I especially love the Sorrow boss fight. I was looking up lists of the greatest people's opinions of the greatest Metal Gear Solid boss fights and stuff like that. A lot of people don't really like the Sorrow, because I guess it isn't really much of a boss fight. But I really, really appreciate how it flips. It's like, oh, like you killed all these people and now you got to deal with the consequences. Like I like that, and I really appreciate that for his message of the game. You know, trying to be very anti-violence, anti-war.
Right.
I thought it was really, really cool. So. That's that. You could tell me, how close am I to beating this game?
You still have some time left. You're not super, super close, but you're within striking distance.
Like the next playthrough, I'll be done?
Couple hours.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
You're getting there.
So hopefully by next Metal Gear Corner with Dan.
Yeah.
You know?
Hopefully.
And then finally I could get to 4 and 5 and be done with this crap.
Yeah, is that what you want?
No, I'm just kidding. I love these games. I'm just kidding. That was a joke.
All right, well, with that beautiful statement from Dan,
that was a joke. I'm joking.
That's the end of Metal Gear Corner with Dan. We're going to move into the main topic of the show today. No Man's Sky coming back. I'm thinking about No Man's Sky a lot lately. I thought it would be interesting to talk about the most disappointing games that we've experienced in
I
our
like
lifetime.
how you wrote it on the most disappointing games of our life. It's like...
Well, the way that I want to frame this is these are games that we were so excited for, so hyped for, and when they came out, they were just such a letdown. So that doesn't mean that these are all bad games. In fact, a lot of them are good games, but they were so overhyped for us. We were so excited for them, and they really let us down.
Yeah.
So obviously, starting off, No Man's Sky.
No Man's Sky, definitely.
Dan, you bought a PS4 for this and the next entry on this list, pretty much.
Yeah, that was like the only reason too. Yeah.
So you were disappointed by No Man's Sky when it came out.
I was disappointed by No Man's Sky, and like you were saying before, it had that Minecraft feel, and I feel like if maybe it was sold as like a Minecraft,
yeah,
I wouldn't have.
That's a problem. And again, it was. If you go back and listen to some of those Sean Murray interviews or read them or whatever, he was being more like coy and cagey about it than explicitly, like people call him like a liar for like setting up this game.
No, I wouldn't say he was a liar at all.
People would say, so you're telling me in this game this could happen. And Sean Murray's like,
maybe.
It's possible. And then everyone gets like, oh my God, this could happen in this game. You know, like everyone gets so excited. And I think he was just so excited for the game that he was like, oh, man, I really want to share this with you guys, you know what I mean? And it really, really got overblown.
I think that's a problem. I think that's one game that really, and the same thing happens to movies, where it's just like, the hype was insane for this game. You can't live up to this.
It's not even, I can't even think of any other game that has been this hyped as No Man's Sky, ever.
This game legit.
It was...
My mom knew about this game. My mom was asking me. She was like, "Oh, I heard this thing about this game called No Man's Sky.
Everybody knew about this game.
Everybody knew this game.
Very strange.
So,
but yes,
I think that was the problem.
That game came out and it wasn't what people wanted. So it definitely belongs on this list. Very disappointing game.
But I didn't think same for that. I think it was a bad game for what it was. It's
not what you were expecting.
Right. I wanted something more. Yeah. If they said, "Oh, it's a Minecraft in space," I would have been like, okay, I know what I'm getting into. And I probably wouldn't have picked it up. But I just... it was also one of those things where I kind of fell with the hype, too. And I was like, oh, well, everybody was really, really talking about this game. Maybe, I don't want to... Peer pressure. I don't want to be
bought into the hype.
Out of the loop. Don't believe the hype, like my man Chuck D said.
That's right. Next one we have on the list was the other reason you got a PS4. And that's
this was like the
Batman
biggest reason
Arkham
I got.
Knight.
Yeah.
Arkham Knight. Talk to me about Arkham Knight.
Arkham Knight. So we all love the Arkham games. What I loved about Arkham Asylum was the claustrophobic feel and all that. I'm just an insane Batman fan. Like I've read all the comics. Like I legit insane Batman fan. Where it's the comics since 1939, Detective Comics 27 to present day. I am just obsessed. So what I loved about Arkham Asylum, Arkham City, the Rogues Gallery. I loved how expansive Arkham City was, the world, and Arkham Knight was going to be more Arkham City-like than
definitely
Arkham
it looked
Asylum.
Like it was taking Arkham City to the next level.
Right, and the three things I was most excited for were the three things that disappointed me the most. One, the Scarecrow was going to be the main villain. Oh, no way. I love the Scarecrow. Arkham Asylum, the Scarecrow was the coolest, I think, my favorite part about that. I was like, man, really. They're going to do a game like that where weird crap like that's going to happen. Awesome. But he was disappointing me. He was barely in it. It was just I don't know if he was even barely, it's been a while since I played it. I don't know if he was barely in it, but his time on screen was just so... I just remember
it was the opening scene. Yeah. That's why. I remember it was the first person scene.
Right.
Where you're on the fear gas.
Yeah.
And people are
killing
each other.
At you, yeah. And then I remember at the end he was going to do the fear toxin across the city. Yeah. But that was legitimate. I don't even think you fought the Scarecrow. I don't think there was even I don't remember an actual fight with it. Anyway, so that disappointed me. The Arkham Knight, right? He was like, oh, who's this guy? This guy looks pretty cool. This is awesome.
That's Red Hood.
Right. Yeah. But even that disappointed me. And then the biggest disappointment was the Batmobile. I was like, no way you can ride the Batmobile. That's going to be the coolest thing ever.
It was so overdone.
It was just so bad.
That stuff wasn't bad to me. It
really?
Was just too much of it.
Yeah, that's true.
If that was a couple instances where you had to be in the Batmobile and you did a couple things like that, it would have been all right. but it was a lot of that.
And that's what
It
bothered
was
me
like
about Arkham.
puzzle solving with
Yeah.
it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, way too much.
And that's what bothered me with the boss fights with the Arkham Knight. If the Arkham Knight, if each fight was a hand-to-hand combat, that would have been something different. But to have to, here's your tank, I'm going to say, here's your tank, and you got to, like, maneuver yourself to, like, shoot behind the tank, and it was just that over and over and over again.
It was a pain in the butt.
It wasn't fun. How about you? What's your take?
For Arkham Knight,
we're talking a lot.
This wouldn't fall on my list because I was disappointed when City came out.
Really? You didn't like City?
I like City. I was disappointed by it because I liked Asylum so much.
Okay.
And it kind of lost the stuff that I really liked about Asylum. But it was still a good game and I still enjoyed it. And when Arkham Knight came out, it was very similar. Where it was like, it's not the Arkham game I want, but it's still a very good game, and I enjoyed it quite a bit.
Okay.
So I really actually liked that game. I didn't love it, but I played through the whole thing. You know, did a bunch of the side stuff, did all the Man-Bat stuff, all the fucking Firefly stuff, or whatever his name is, the Firefly.
Firefly was it, yeah.
So, you know, I think there were some things that game did very well, and then things that it didn't do well.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it was pretty much exactly where I thought it was going to be for me.
All right, interesting. No, I was disappointed because like even the Jason Todd stuff, like I thought, oh cool, like they're bringing him into it, but like I don't know, just like
some of those scenes were cool though. Like some of it
was cool, yeah.
Some of the stuff where you saw him like chained up and stuff.
Yeah, no,
like,
definitely.
You know.
Like that was really really cool, and that's what I loved about Arkham City and Arkham Asylum, like those moments.
Yeah.
But just like there was such a heavy emphasis on the Batmobile and
way too much.
Oh, you're gonna be, it's gonna be a tank-like game where you gotta, I don't know, Batman's a hand-to-hand guy. Like, give me some cool, stealthy-looking kind of.
No, it was too much. There's no doubt.
Yeah.
Next one we have on our list is Fallout 4.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked before about why we were disappointed about Fallout 4, but you know, we as people like you and I that really like Bethesda open world games. I don't know if Fallout 4 was a product of too much of the same, or if it was just not exactly, not quite up to par with the rest of them, but there was something about it where it was disappointing, and I was very excited for it because I love Fallout 3, love Fallout New Vegas, so I don't know if you feel the same.
Yeah, no, Fallout, it's so hard to describe because like when Fallout 4 came out, I was very excited for it and I enjoyed it. I played a lot of it. But there's just something about it that just, I can't even it's so weird. I can't even put the word on, I can't even put my finger on it. There's something about it that just didn't, once I did the main story, there's just something that didn't entice me to go back. And also the story there wasn't something that I was just like, wow, like I can't believe that. Like there was just nothing, like what we was talking about Fallout 3 was, we talked about this 100 times, there'd be like these really weird, like you would just show up and there'd be something like really weird and interesting, like, what's going on? It's something completely off the beaten path. I feel like Fallout 4 didn't have this.
Right.
I don't know. It didn't.
Yeah, something about
I just didn't love it the way that I wanted to, and I really can't. I know it's not.
Yeah.
I can't really think of a reason.
I agree.
Next
one we have Mirror's Edge Catalyst.
That was a big disappointment.
This was a big
for me.
one for you, for
big
sure.
Big one for me. Yeah, I remember when it came out. I was very very excited. I bought it the day of. And I played it for like 4 hours, and I was just waiting and waiting and waiting to really, really like it, get into the story and the NPCs, and then it was just the same thing over and over again. Oh, go run to this building and touch that wall. Go run over this building and, kick that guy in the face. And it was just not a good game. It just really was not a good game. It was boring. It was monotonous. And there wasn't really any, for me at least, there wasn't anything that was keeping me intrigued to play it anymore.
I remember when the first Mirror's Edge came out, it was so cool and unique to like run around and do this crazy combat and like, you're parkouring.
Right,
and I was like, wow, it's so cool. But I didn't even love that game. I just thought it was neat.
Okay.
And that's why when this one came out, I wasn't super hyped for it, but I was like, oh, I'll see if people like it, maybe I'll play it. And it came out and I was like, glad I passed on that one.
No bueno.
Yeah. Next thing I have here is Resident Evil 5 and 6.
Okay.
So 5, I actually like.
Okay, interesting.
But it was very disappointing when it first came out because I love the other Resident Evil games. I loved 1, 2, 3 I was okay with. 4 I really loved.
Loves 4, yeah.
But I liked all those games. I really liked them. And so when 5 came out, and it was so different, it was like Gears of War, like cover shooter.
Yeah.
I was like, what is this? Like, this is not the game that I want. But then I started playing it, and I was like, well, it's actually really fun. I just need to accept that this is a different kind of game.
Yeah.
And I did actually enjoy it. But I was very disappointed at first because I'm like, I was so upset. It was so bright.
Right.
You know, the first level is like this daytime, like in Africa, like crazy. I was like, what is this?
Yeah.
But I learned to really enjoy that as I played it, and playing that game co-op is actually a really fun experience.
What do you feel about 6 though?
6, unequivocally, one of the most disappointing games I've ever. Now the difference here is, I was excited for it because of the way they were talking about it.
Okay.
But I kind of knew better. I kind of was like, I have a bad feeling about this. But they kept saying like they want to harken back to 1 and 2, like they were talking about the older games, and I was like, that's really exciting.
Yeah.
You know? So I was hyped for it, but I wasn't.
Definitely not like 1 or 2.
I kind of knew.
Yeah.
And that game was a total piece of trash. I don't know. You have any feelings about these?
Yeah, no, I'm just not really into them. I don't know. I like the gritty feel of 4. And then the first one's grown on me too. You know, I think it's hard. It's the same thing with the Metal Gear games. I think it's hard to play the newest game and then go back. So like I played 4 first, and then having to go back and play 1. Like it's hard to just get acclimated to that. You know, probably
no doubt about that.
Probably would have been smarter to play 1, 2, 3, 4 than just. But that's, you can't blame developers for that. That's just time. And,
it's time, yeah.
And technology just gets better. So that's not a reason to judge or critique. But yeah, no, 5 and 6 just I don't know, just didn't have that cool feeling that I had playing as Leon Kennedy or forget the girl's
Rookie
name
cop
in the first game. You can play as a girl or the guy. I forget. I always pick the girl. Jill
and Chris, right?
Jill and Chris, yeah.
All right. Next on the list, I have Legend of Zelda:
Twilight Princess.
Now, something I also want to say in this vein is Skyward Sword as well.
Okay.
So Twilight Princess, disappointing for one reason in particular, and that was, this is the realistic Zelda. This is the dark.
They're going for the Christopher Nolan
Zelda game. And I do not like this game, Dan. I know a lot of people do. I was so disappointed by Twilight Princess.
Were you excited at all for it, though?
Very excited for it. Yeah, of course. It's a new Zelda game. Like, I love
Hot
these
damn,
games.
it's Zelda!
But all these games I love.
Right.
Like, Wind Waker's one of my favorites.
Well, that's the thing. Every game up until then was just incredible.
And a lot of people would argue that Twilight Princess is right up there with them. But for me, I was very disappointed with all the wolf stuff.
Yeah.
With the tone itself. I didn't like the dark monsters and all that. I was like, I'm not a huge fan of this. But
I feel like they marketed it as, we're the realistic dark version, but I feel like it just made the game was just like dark, like legit. The screen was like actually the colors were just actually dark. Like it was just like,
no, I know what you mean.
I don't know. It's funny because me and my sister, like when we played it, there were like times where we're like, oh yeah, this is fun, this is enjoyable. But then like honestly looking back on it, like I don't know, like I just had a blast with Wind Waker, and Majora's Mask is one of my favorite games ever. Ocarina and Link to the Past and all those games. I don't know. I'm not.
But then Skyward Sword came,
Which was the reverse.
And it was the opposite because they're trying to win back the people that didn't like Twilight Princess. It was a total cycle. It was Wind Waker.
Cartoony,
the most cartoony by far. Kind of happy-go-lucky, People didn't like that. They went dark and gritty, Twilight Princess. Some people didn't like that. They went back to the bright and colorful, but went more realistic, bright and colorful in Skyward Sword. And that, for me, is one of the worst Zelda games of the bunch.
Worse than Twilight?
I think it's a worse game, yeah.
Okay.
I really do think that. The thing about Skyward Sword is so there are specific dungeons in Skyward Sword that were very well done. But overall, if you look at that game and like how it's designed and everything, it's just so like pales in comparison.
Those are definitely
to the
my
rest.
most disappointing Zelda games.
Yeah,
for sure. But then Breath of the Wild came along and just saved the world.
Exactly. All right, next one I have on the list is Chrono Cross.
Okay, never played Chrono Cross.
Sequel to Chrono Trigger. and it was just so upsetting.
It's also a manga, I think.
What?
Is Chrono Cross a manga? Oh, Chrono Crusade.
I don't know. Couldn't tell you.
Oh, okay.
But this was a follow-up Square to Chrono Trigger, and it was so different, and it was so upsetting.
Same characters?
So upsetting. There were some of the same characters, but I think it was like they were analogs of them. I don't know if it was the actual same characters. It has been I haven't played this game since it came out.
That was for PlayStation, right?
Yeah, this was almost...
Did you already say that?
This was like 15, 18 years ago.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, it has been a long time since I played it. But I remember so distinctly playing this game, and the graphics, you know how like Final Fantasy on PlayStation graphics were like, you know, realistic?
Mm-hmm.
Where
was
like the
blocky,
cutscenes were almost like movie type.
Uh-huh.
That was this, and I was like, what are they doing? Like, Chrono Trigger is such a perfect game. Like, I was obsessed with Chrono Trigger when I was younger. So to play Chrono Cross and see how different it was, I was like, no, it's so upset.
Is it a bad game, or?
I have never revisited it.
Okay.
I have no idea. It has been so long. I just will never forget the disappointment for that game. That's why this fits so well on the list, because I couldn't tell you much about the game, but I was very disappointed as a
little
child.
Daniel was disappointed.
Very disappointed.
Damn, it makes me sad.
Yeah, well, it made me sad too. Next on the list, I have Kingdom Hearts. So, again, as a kid, loving Final Fantasy, loving Disney. Couldn't have been more excited for this game.
Perfect marriage.
Very, very excited for this game. And the opening few hours of Kingdom Hearts is one of the most annoying and bizarre experiences I've ever had in my life.
Man.
And the entire thing, I just fucking hate. I hate that game. They put you on this island and basically have you do these weird challenges against some of these people, and it's like it was just nonsense.
Dude,
like,
I think the first half an hour just is like those weird cutscene in the beginning.
But the problem, and I'm sorry to the Kingdom Hearts fans out there, because I'm about to take a dump all over your favorite franchise, but the story is nonsense, and it's always been nonsense. From minute one of the first game up until now, it's complete fucking nonsense. And it's like, it takes the bad parts of Final Fantasy and it throws them up in the air like it's like the Bible. And it's just so upsetting. It's like, what are you guys doing? Like, none of this is good. It's like the bad kind of anime, where it's like, you're just being over the top to be over the top. You're being so mysterious, ridiculous. It's like, why do people like it? I don't know why people like it. I really don't.
People like it because Disney and Final Fantasy.
That's not why they like it. They like the story for some reason. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, how do you like the story in this? I just don't get it. There's so many good stories in games, and people like Kingdom Hearts.
Please keep going. This is fun.
No, that's it. That's all I have to say about it.
I warmed myself on.
I was very upset playing that game for the first time and being like, this isn't what I want.
I just remember the beginning where like they're both like floating and there's like some weird dialogue, and I'm just like, what's happening? Like, I don't know what's going on. And then you're on the island doing all that weird stuff and
doing all the weird stuff. The combat is terrible. Terrible.
Can we like?
I wanted it to be a Final Fantasy game, like they had marketed it as. Little did I know it's going to be like the future Final Fantasy games, because it's not like 10. It's like the ones that follow up.
I wouldn't what's the story of Kingdom Hearts? There's like the darkness, right? That's like taken over.
Yeah.
And then it's just
God.
That's like way simplifying it though. That's like
yeah. One day we should read aloud some of the story points. Yeah. Ugh. Anyway, Kingdom Hearts sucks. End of story.
Are you gonna play Kingdom Hearts 3 though?
No, absolutely not. Next, I have similar vein: Final Fantasy 13 and 15.
Okay.
So 13, they made 13, 13-2, 13-3, the Lightning Saga or whatever.
Loves Lightning.
Those games suck, dude. They're terrible.
Final Hallway?
They're all terrible. I know what you're talking about, but the thing about these games is they went for a combat system that, they strayed, obviously. They're trying to make the new type of JRPG, and a lot of people were doing a similar thing, where newer RPGs, you see it even in the Tales series, like stuff like that. It's this real-time active battle system. Ni no Kuni 2, like they were doing that, but it like was in between that and like a action game, like a Devil May Cry type game.
Okay.
And it wasn't good, And on top of that, it had the same sort of thing that I hate about Kingdom Hearts. It had that nonsense story. And we'll get to it with 15 as well, where it's the, like, ridiculous, over the top,
super angsty, like, ugh.
But that's what these games are.
My parents.
But that's what 13 was, and that's what 15 was, and that's why both games were just so disappointing.
Yeah, no, 15 really disappointed me because I put that on my Christmas list. I don't have a Christmas list. I just kidding. I got that for Christmas, and because I talked about it so much, and yeah, no, I was so excited because like I was so hoping like, okay, maybe it's be something different. Like this looks like a way more open world. Like this is like could be a really cool world to explore. And no, it's just terrible. It's just not good. And
not good.
We've tried to play, me and my sister, and we tried to go back, and we keep saying we're gonna go back because a lot of people we talk to love this game, and I can't. The story, it's just okay, all right, whatever, you know. Oh, this poor prince, you know, his dad doesn't like him, or it's like one of these things, and then the combat is that sort of thing like Final Fantasy 13, where it's just, you know, real time, but if you're not leveled up enough, then it's just stupid.
I don't enjoy the combat enough to sit through the crappy story. I don't enjoy the story enough to sit through the crappy combat.
The best part about Final Fantasy 15, and anybody who's done this knows, the fishing is a lot of fun in that game. You can go to one place and you can just go fish. And like I can just do that for hours. And that's all that, yeah, that's it.
Hell of a $60 game.
Yeah, seriously. Well, it was a Christmas gift, so it's fine.
That's true. All right. Next on the list, I have Castlevania Lords of Shadow. So I could have also put Castlevania 64 on here because as a kid that really enjoyed the NES Castlevania games, Super Castlevania, like I really enjoyed those games. And then you get to Symphony of the Night, you know, in my opinion, the best one of the bunch. Like I love these games. And then 64 came along, and you're like, what the hell is this game?
You had two chances to play the 64 one, because there's two games for the N64.
Really? I thought there was only the one.
Castlevania 64, there's two versions, I believe.
Oh, two versions?
I believe, yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
I want to say there's two versions.
I just remember Castlevania 64, and man, I did not like that game one bit. And then Lords of Shadow looked interesting. You know, they're taking it into a new direction. Mm-hmm. It's like a third-person action game. I didn't like that game. There are some things that I do like about it. I think some of the tonal stuff and the bonkers story like is actually it has some fun with it. But overall, I was like, ugh, this is not Castlevania that I know and love, you know?
See, I didn't hate it as much as you did. The Lords of Shadow 2 really disappointed me.
Yeah.
But I kind of like Lords of Shadow. I don't know.
Yeah.
Again,
like I said, I don't think it's a bad game, but as somebody that loved Castlevania and I was like, oh, this looks like an interesting Castlevania game, I was disappointed, personally. But
I could be completely stupid, so please, nobody judge me. Kojima? Did he have anything to do with this game at all?
You know what? For some reason,
I feel like Hideo Kojima had something to do with this game. I didn't hate it that much. You know what it was? It's just it didn't. When it got to like the story and how spoiler alerts 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. When I got to where you find out that, okay, so you're playing Trevor Belmont, but Trevor Belmont turns into Dracula. Like, just this whole, like, story. I don't know. I kind of, like, lost me. I wasn't really in it for the story. It kind of was cool. I thought the enemies were pretty cool. I like there was this one boss fight where you fight, like, this, like, ice stone guy. It's very Shadow of the Colossus-esque, where you gotta, like, climb up its back and, like, you know, kill it kind of thing. But, like, I obviously didn't love it the way that I loved.
That's what I'm trying to say. It's not even that I really hate the game. It's just not that good.
Yeah, I didn't love it. You know, the way that I loved,
it's not like, that good. And I actually, some of the story stuff in that game, I actually did enjoy because it was so weird and off the wall. And yeah, Kojima did help produce this game.
That's what it was. Okay.
But I don't think he really did much.
Forgive me, brother. My need is far greater than yours.
Next on the list, I have one that you were very interested in when I wrote this.
Yeah, seriously, so please regale me.
Mega Man X. So, as a child, obsessed with Mega Man. We all know this.
We all know that Dan's obsessed
I've certainly talked a lot about how much I love Mega Man. So, loved all the NES Mega Man games.
Blue Mega Man and the Red Mega Man. South Park. It's like
So, X came out. I was super excited for it. I was like, it's a new Mega Man game. Look at these cool graphics, like it looks so nice, you know, yada yada. And it's so different. And I didn't expect it. because I just wanted Mega Man with the nice updated graphics, new bosses. Like, I was super excited for it. And it played different. He jumped differently. He had different moves. I was like, I do not like this whatsoever. So as I've gotten older and I've played it, it's a good game. The first couple X games are good. I'm still not a huge fan, but at the time, I really was disappointed. Really, really disappointed.
How about now, though? Replaying it?
Yeah, they're good.
But yeah, still don't do it for you?
No, not in the same way.
Interesting.
Not in the same way as, Mega Man 2, 3.
Interesting.
Like, no way.
Interesting.
This game is not the same.
That's so interesting, yeah.
Leading into the next one, Mighty Number 9, in the same vein. It looked like a new Mega Man game.
I know.
It looked like a brand new style. It was
Keiji Inafune, too.
Inafune was making it.
Who's the guy he
Now,
did?
the problem
For
is...
those that don't know, he did the original games.
Yeah. Now, the thing that nobody realized is that Keiji Inafune made a lot of games since Mega Man. And he made a lot of not-so-good games. So, it's not like this guy was infallible.
Right.
But everyone just kept saying, this is the
guy
the
who
Mega
did
Man guy.
Mega Man, yeah.
He's making a new Mega Man style game. So, like, we kind of saw the writing on the wall. But nonetheless, I was excited to check it out. And sure enough, it was not a good game.
It was not a good game.
Not a good game.
I agree.
Very upset about that. Now, as time gets closer, Igarashi's new game. Is it Igarashi?
Oh, yeah. Igarashi, Virtual Tonight.
Yeah. Now, we're hoping he doesn't make a Mighty Number 9 because we did play Curse of the Moon.
Thought that was great, though.
Bloodstained Curse of the Moon, and it was excellent.
I thought Curse of the Moon was amazing.
That's why I'm saying I'm hoping that's, fortune cookie.
Because he's trying to
be a good game.
He's trying to do a Symphony of the Night style.
Yeah. So, we'll see. Next one on the list, I know you're not familiar with.
Never heard of this
game called
game.
Prototype.
Oh, please regale me.
So Prototype came out on PS3 and Xbox 360 in 2009. It came out 2 weeks after Infamous.
Okay.
And Infamous is a game that I liked a lot.
Okay.
It was a PlayStation exclusive. It was made by Sucker Punch. They continued to make Infamous 2 and Second Son.
Right.
So I really liked Infamous. Prototype was very similar. It's a guy with powers, blah, blah, blah. You had this. And I was really excited for it because I'm like, man, Infamous was so good. This sounds really good. Like, I was reading about it beforehand. It was like previewing Game Informer. I was reading it. And it came out, and it has some things that are good. Like, some of the combat's actually not bad, but, man, the game overall is just not good.
Is it same combat, same sort of, like...
Very similar.
Okay.
Very similar. The story was super, super bad, though. But, anyway.
What makes like a bad story, seriously, when you think about it?
Bad writing.
Like is it tropey? Is that...
Oh, you're saying, like, actually, what do you call bad writing? It's either tropey or not believable. That's the two big things.
Yeah.
If you're doing something and you're like, I don't get that character's motivations, that's bad writing, Coming up to a couple big ones here. I'm going to skip ahead and I'm going to say Star Wars Battlefront. So, a lot of people very excited for Star Wars Battlefront. They knew going in that there was no story mode.
Yeah,
so kind of dulled the excitement
to
begin with for the Star Wars fans that were actually really excited. And yet, a lot of people bought the game anyway and were disappointed because, it is a new Star Wars game. Graphically, looks like a beautiful Star Wars thing. For everything from the way the lasers blow up to, like, when they hit and the smoke, and it's like, they did such a good job crafting.
Oh, it was beautiful, and the characters and there's something cool about playing Darth Vader and like hearing the Imperial March come on. Exactly. It's cool, but
totally nostalgia fest. But you have to play a multiplayer shooter that is subpar, so it's like understandable why people would be disappointed with it. I kind of knew going in, so I didn't buy it, but it was definitely I could see that. Next one I have is BioShock 2.
Okay.
So, original BioShock, one of my favorite games, especially at the time. Maybe my favorite game, if you ask me, in 2007 or 8. What's my favorite game ever? I might have said BioShock. Loved that first game. Second game was coming out. People were talking about it. You could play as a Big Daddy.
You're back in Rapture.
Cool. You're back in Rapture. And it just didn't have a lot of what made the first one great. And looking back on it, I'd like to play it again because I feel like there are definitely some things that I would enjoy more and appreciate more. It's a lot more, I think it has a lot more elements of like a Prey type game than BioShock did. BioShock was a little more action-y. I think the second one is a little more, I don't know. I'd like to go back and check it out, but I was very disappointed at the time.
Yeah.
I didn't think the story lived up to the first one, not even close. I think playing as a Big Daddy was cool, but it kind of grew tiresome and wasn't as much variety as you had in the first one with all the plasmids and everything.
Well, I think what was like so like for me at least was so, and again I played the BioShock games after my mom wouldn't let me play those kind of games when they originally came out. But in BioShock 2, that's the one where you have to constantly destroy Big Daddy, then you have to have your little sister like suck out the thing, and then you have to do like 3 times for each person. It got like monotonous. But like you said with the story, it was like a rehash of the first story, but like on the opposite spectrum. But like it was. But it didn't have the same punch and the same twists and the same characters. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like it was lacking. What's her name? Sophia Lamb? Was that who the bad guy was?
Yes. But yeah, BioShock 2 when it came out, definitely one of my major disappointments. The last one, maybe the biggest disappointment in this entire list, Mass Effect Andromeda. Mass Effect trilogy, maybe one of my favorite series ever, probably.
Of anything?
Yeah, it's up there. Yeah, it's very, very good. I really, really like them. 1 and 2 in particular, but 3 I like a lot as well. Andromeda was just... Not only was it riddled with bugs and technical glitches and issues, came out totally half-baked.
Yeah.
The story was bad. Like,
in a game that prides itself on its story.
That is why people like these games.
Yeah.
That is why people like these games. And you ask anybody that played this game, and they will say the combat is better in Andromeda than it's ever been in any other game.
But
I have no doubt about that. That's not what this game's about.
Exactly.
and everyone knows that. So that's why you look ahead to Anthem and you say, I'm excited for that because they know what it is. They're not making here's your romance options, here's your dialogue options. Like, they're not making that game. They're making a game that hopefully will have a cool story, but it's going to be a linear one, and it looks like it has really cool combat. Mm-hmm. And it's like, you know what you're getting going in. When you call a game Mass Effect, and then you make it not like Mass Effect, then there's an issue.
Of course.
Yeah. And from, everyone's talked about this game to death. A lot of people were ragging on it because of the glitches and stuff like that.
The
and
facial animations and stuff.
I get hating on a game for that, but that'll get patched out.
Yeah.
And sure enough, it did. So that's not really a reason to hate a game or say it's a bad game. The reason to say it's a bad game is the story is poor. It set itself up. The ending is one of the most disappointing things where it set itself up for a sequel, like very much a cliffhanger. And now it's not getting a sequel. And it's very clear that they did this on purpose. And it's like, man, like, you guys just fucking suck.
Yeah, not good.
Like, very upsetting.
Not good. I mean, I'm going to be fair, though. All I know about it is through videos and discussions because I didn't even buy it. Right. And I was so hyped for when they were going to do a new Mass Effect. I was like, oh my gosh, no way. Love the Mass Effect games.
Right.
And I just didn't even purchase it.
Very disappointing. Maybe that's the most disappointing thing of all, Dan. You didn't even buy a Mass Effect game.
Did you buy it?
No, but I'm saying, isn't that disappointing?
It's disappointing.
When you actually really love Mass Effect.
My green dollars in my pocket were itching to be spent on a Mass Effect game.
That's right.
And I made George Washington very sad.
You had 60
Approximately
Washingtons,
60 Washingtons.
All right, well, that's going to do it for the episode. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you, Dan.
I just want to say, I'm sorry you were so disappointed as a child. I just hope
that's all right.
I just hope our friendship has made up for that just a little bit.
It's only made it more difficult. Shelby, thank you as always. Thank you guys for watching. And
I'm out of here.
We'll catch you same time next week. What's up, guys? It's Dan from Circle Back. I'm just here to let you know you can find everything that we do at circlebackgaming.com. If you just want the podcast, we're on iTunes. If you just want the video, we're on YouTube. So catch us either place. Thanks.